Ever feel like you're trying too hard? You craft the perfect message, staring at the screen for hours. You wait for a reply that never comes, your anxiety rising with every passing second of silence. The more you chase their attention, the faster it seems to slip through your fingers, leaving you ignored. But look closely. There's a different way to exist, a shift where everything flows without any effort at all. The confident man isn't looking for a sign or seeking validation. He is the validation himself. While one man overinvests and loses his peace, the other remains detached, magnetic, and completely at ease. Stop trying to win. Start being the prize. True confidence is the quietest room in the house. They told you love was simple. Be kind, be patient, be good, and she will choose you. But reality doesn't reward goodness. It rewards power. Since childhood, you were programmed to believe that kindness is the ultimate currency of attraction. The stories were simple. The hero was virtuous, the maiden was grateful, and love was the inevitable reward for a good heart. But the world outside those glowing screens doesn't operate on fairy tale logic. No one told you that attraction doesn't follow moral rules. We were taught that being nice was the key, but nature has its own complex, often chaotic, blueprint for desire. Psychology suggests that our deepest urges are rarely polite. They are primal, shaped by forces far beyond the concepts of right and wrong. When the reality of attraction clashes with our childhood conditioning, it creates a profound dissonance, a gap between who we think we should want and who we actually do. To navigate adult relationships, we must first unlearn the scripts written for us in the nursery. Understanding this dissonance isn't a betrayal of our values. It's the beginning of a more honest connection with ourselves and others. Reflect on your own narrative. Is it yours, or was it programmed into you long ago?
The clock ticks in the silence of a room that feels far too large. You sit there, the blue light of the screen reflecting in your eyes. You give attention. You notice every detail, every change in tone, every pause that stretches into an eternity. Outside, the city hums with a life that seems a world away. Rain streaks the window like tears on glass, blurring the neon lights. You give effort. You craft the words carefully, deleting and rewriting until the message feels just right, hoping for a spark of connection. Every notification is a heartbeat. Every silence is a weight. You pour your energy into a digital void that never seems to fill. You give everything, your time, your thoughts, your very peace of mind. You offer the best parts of yourself to someone who isn't looking. The modern world makes it so easy to connect, yet so simple to disappear. It is a strange kind of ghosting that leaves no trace. And somehow, despite the intensity of your presence and the depth of your care, you are still invisible. Visibility is not just being seen, it is being recognized. Without that, you are just a ghost in a machine, waiting for a signal.
Meanwhile, someone who gives less gets more. Someone colder feels warmer to her.
You start asking yourself, what am I doing wrong?
The truth is uncomfortable, and most people will never accept it. We prefer the comfort of a lie because reality demands a price most are unwilling to pay. It demands the death of our ego. In the world of attraction, we like to talk about souls and connections. But beneath the surface, a much colder machinery is at work. Human nature is driven by survival and status. We are attracted to the symbols of power and the signals of genetic health. The halo effect dictates that we perceive beautiful people as kinder, smarter, and more trustworthy, even when there is no evidence to support it. We don't choose who we love as much as we respond to triggers that have been programmed into us over millions of years. Social dynamics are a game of leverage. Those who need the least from others often end up with the most influence. Most kindness is a form of social currency. We trade it for validation, for security, or to maintain a certain image of ourselves. When you understand that everyone is acting in their own perceived self-interest, the world stops being confusing and starts being predictable. Predictability isn't romantic, but it is honest. And honesty is the only foundation upon which you can build a real life. Accepting these truths doesn't make you a cynic. It makes you a realist. It gives you the map to navigate a world that others are wandering blindly. Stop looking for the magic. Start looking for the patterns. Once you see them, you can never unsee them. The truth is waiting. It doesn't care if you believe it or not. It simply exists, governing every interaction you will ever have.
Attraction is not built on kindness alone. It is built on something far more primal. Confidence, power, status, control. These are the forces that silently shape desire. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The world we know is a thin veil, a carefully constructed illusion designed to keep us comfortable in our ignorance. We walk these paths every day, never questioning the shadows that don't quite align with the objects casting them. But look closer. In the quiet moments between heartbeats, the architecture of the hidden begins to reveal itself. There are patterns in the chaos, codes written in the wind, and secrets buried beneath the concrete of our modern life. They want us to look at the light, to focus on the noise, anything to prevent us from peering into the depths. What happens when the signal breaks, when the static becomes a message you finally understand? The descent is not physical. It is a shifting of perspective. A realization that the truth has been here all along, beneath the logic, beneath the safety there. Is a reality that does not care for our understanding. Now that you have looked into the abyss, you will find it looking back at you every time you close your eyes. Centuries ago, power was already understood better than love. Centuries ago, power was already understood far better than love.
The man who seeks approval loses it. The man who doesn't need it owns it.
Power is not loud. It is felt. It's in the way you walk, the way you speak, the way you don't react.
She is not listening to your words. She is reading your energy.
Neediness repels. It is a quiet vibration that echoes through a room, signaling an internal void that others instinctively try to avoid. The needy individual is constantly searching. Every glance and movement is a silent plea for someone else to confirm his worth and existence. Watch him in a social environment, even in a crowded office. His posture betrays him. He hunches forward, leaning into spaces where he isn't invited. The phone is his tether. He checks it every few seconds, hoping for a notification that serves as a temporary bridge to another person. But on the other side of this psychological divide, there is a different kind of energy altogether. This is the power of the self. The independent individual is not looking around. He is engaged in his own world, perfectly content with his own thoughts and his own work. He does not seek validation because he has already provided it for himself. This internal sufficiency creates a gravitational pull that is hard to ignore. There is a literal tug of war happening between these two states of being. A barrier exists between the needy and the self-sufficient. The needy individual tries to push through. He reaches out, but the more he demands connection, the thicker and more impenetrable the barrier becomes. Meanwhile, the independent individual remains oblivious to the wall. He is moving along his own path. and his side of the world feels vibrant. The secret is that the harder you chase, the faster it runs. It is only when you stop chasing that things begin to change, as the needy individual begins to adopt the habits of the independent. The world around him begins to shift. He starts to find his center. He puts the phone away. He finds calm in the silence. He realizes that his own company is enough. The repulsion is replaced by attraction. The final law of social dynamics is simple but profound. Once you are no longer desperate for the world becomes desperate for you. Independence attracts. When you stand tall in your own space, the universe naturally bends toward your light.
This is the rule. No one teaches.
And that is what makes him dangerous.
Danger creates excitement. Predictability kills it.
You offer comfort. He offers emotion.
And emotion always wins.
The unknown is addictive. It is a magnetic pull that draws us into the deep, cinematic shadows of the night. We crave the mystery, searching for answers in the hazy places where the light fades and secrets begin. In the heart of the darkness, every whisper becomes a part of the chase. Can't look away.
In a world that never sleeps, the chase has become our default state of existence. We are a generation of hunters, perpetually stalking the next digital high. Look at the faces around you. Illuminated by the cold, blue light of handheld screens. They wear the same mask of quiet desperation and anxious expectation. We scream into the void, begging to be noticed, to be chosen, to be validated by a world that is too busy chasing its own tail to care. But amidst the noise, there is a different kind of power. A power that doesn't demand attention, yet commands it through the sheer force of stillness. Meet the man who has stepped out of the race. He is not running, because he has already arrived at the only destination that matters, himself, on the table beside him. A phone vibrates. A notification flickers a desperate plea for his attention. He doesn't even glance toward the light. His focus is elsewhere. He is immersed in the physical world. The weight of a book, the clarity of a single thought. He is complete without the digital echo. In a room full of people performing for an invisible audience. His lack of performance becomes a magnetic mystery. The silence he projects is louder than any. Shout. They wonder why he doesn't look up. They wonder what he knows that they don't. By needing nothing from them, he has become the most interesting thing in the room. This is the paradox of non-chase. When you stop pursuing, the world begins to gravitate toward you. Gravity doesn't try. It simply exists. He stands, not because the world called him, but because he is ready to move. He takes his phone out to check it, but simply because it belongs to him, he walks out, leaving the noise behind. He carries his own peace with him, a fortress of self-sufficiency that no notification can breach. The screens continue to glow in the dark, and the chase continues for those left behind. But for him, the game is over. He has already won. He doesn't chase, and that makes him chased.
Attention given freely loses value.
Attention earned becomes obsession. This is not romance. This is psychology.
Transformation is not a loud event. It doesn't begin with a roar or a crowd's applause. It starts in the quietest moments of the morning. It begins when you look at yourself and decide that the current version is no longer enough. The first step is acknowledging the gap between who you are and who you could be. The gym is a cathedral of effort. On day one, the weights feel cold, indifferent, and impossibly heavy. Every plate represents a challenge you haven't yet mastered. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. It's the ability to show up when the motivation has evaporated and the air is biting cold. The grind is where the magic happens. It's the repetitive, grueling work that no one sees. It's the sweat that stings your eyes and the fire in your lungs. True change happens outside the gym walls. 2. It's in the choices you make in the kitchen, the hours of sleep you prioritize, and the consistency of your routine. The seasons change outside, but the mission remains the same inside. Summer heat or winter frost. The iron never lies and the clock never stops. Suddenly, the movements that were once a struggle become a display of power. Form becomes fluid. Strength becomes a secondary nature. Confidence isn't something you shout. It's something you carry. It's the way you stand, the way you move, and the quiet intensity in your gaze. Eventually, you return to the mirror. But the person looking back isn't the one who started. The dissatisfaction is gone, replaced by a deep-seated respect for the journey. Your body speaks before your words do.
Your value is not what you say, it's what you build. True growth begins in the quiet moments of the day, when the noise of the world finally fades and the inner voice begins to speak. For Arthur, the journey of 1,000 miles does not start with a step, but within the pages of a single, well-worn book. In these halls of knowledge, every shelf is a horizon waiting to be explored, and every chapter is a mirror reflecting our own potential. Reading is not merely an act of consumption, it is an act of creation. As he turns each page, he is crafting his own narrative. The world outside moves at a frantic pace, but here, time holds its breath. There is a profound power in being still. Reflection is the compass of the soul. Without it, we are merely travelers crossing a landscape without ever seeing the path. In the depth of a sentence, we find the courage to face our own truths. The wisdom of the past becomes the fuel for tomorrow. The path forward is never found on a physical map. It is found within the clarity of purpose and the strength of one's conviction. As the day winds down, the destination becomes secondary to the journey itself. He realizes that his search has finally led him home. Your mind defines your direction. We live in an age of constant noise, where the silence is often feared and the crowd is sought for refuge. In this frantic race for validation, we lose the very essence of who we are. Every notification is a tether, every interaction a performance. But amidst the chaos, there is a choice. A choice to step back, to breathe, and to walk a path less traveled. He detaches himself from the frantic rhythm of the city, moving toward the shadows where the silence begins to speak. True strength is not found in the numbers that surround us, but in the depths of our own company. Solitude is the forge of the spirit. It is where we confront our shadows and build the foundation of our internal world. Here, there is no need for masks. There is only the raw truth of existence and the steady pulse of self-reliance. He is not lonely. He is complete. The weight of his presence is forged in the hours of reflection and the mastery of his own mind. When he returns to the world, he carries this silence within him. He moves with a rhythm that the noise cannot touch. The world moves in frantic circles, but he remains the unshakable center of gravity, a pillar of mental resilience. Do not fear the quiet. Embrace it, for in the stillness, you will find the power that the world can never take away. Your solitude defines your strength. Discipline is the new attraction. It is the silent signal of a person who has mastered their most valuable asset, their focus in an era of endless distraction. The ability to do deep work is becoming as rare as a superpower. It sets you apart immediately. Most people are drifting, pulled by the gravity of notifications, social media trends, and the constant need for external validation from strangers. But there is a different kind of charisma. It doesn't shout, it doesn't perform, it simply exists in the steady pursuit of a goal. This is the allure of the disciplined mind. People are drawn to those who have an internal compass that doesn't waver when the wind blows. Discipline isn't about punishment. It's about choosing what you want most over what you want right now. It is the ultimate form of self-respect. When you see someone who can say no to the trivial, you are looking at someone who has the power to say yes to greatness. Society is obsessed with hacks and shortcuts. But the only real hack is the consistency of showing up when no one is watching. True charm isn't found in a perfectly curated social profile. It's found in the calloused hands of the craftsman and the quiet mind of the thinker when you cultivate discipline. You radiate an energy of competence. You become a person of depth in a world that is increasingly shallow. You stop reacting to life and start responding to it. You are no longer a victim of your impulses, but the architect of your own character. People will wonder how you stay so calm. They will wonder why you aren't chasing the same things they are. That is the attraction. They are attracted to the mystery of your resolve. They see a strength in you that they wish they had in themselves. Discipline is not a prison. It is the key to the cage. It is the only path to true freedom and genuine influence. So stop looking for the latest trend to make you interesting. Instead, look within, build the walls of your own focus. Be the person who can sit in a room alone and be perfectly content. Be the person who does what they said they would do. Because in the end, discipline isn't just a habit. It is the foundation of a life well lived. It is the new attraction. In a world saturated with noise and endless distractions, it is easy to feel adrift like a ship without a rudder in a storm. Most people spend their lives reacting to the chaos around them, pulled in 1,000 directions by the demands of others. But greatness is not found in the noise. It is cultivated in the quiet, in the moments of absolute, unwavering inner focus. When you strip away the trivial, you find a core of intent. This is where your true power begins to take shape. A focused mind is like a lens, gathering scattered light and intensifying it into a single, piercing beam that can cut through steel. It requires discipline. The ability to say no to the good so that you can say yes to the extraordinary. As the internal vision clears, something remarkable starts to happen. You stop chasing the world, and the world begins to find you. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach now appear exactly when you need them. People with shared visions are drawn to your energy. This isn't luck. This is the natural law of alignment. When you are centered, you become the center of your own gravity. Your focus acts as a beacon, signaling to the universe exactly what you are ready to receive and what you are prepared to build. Don't let the noise define you. Find your center. Define your mission and let everything else fall into place around it. Because when you live with intent, your path becomes inevitable. Purpose is magnetic.
True understanding doesn't come from the words we speak, but from the spaces between them. In the quiet hum of a morning cafe or the stillness of a fading afternoon, she remains a silent witness to the unseen. While the world listens to the noise, she listens to the rhythm of the unspoken. She watches the way your hands tremble when you're nervous and how your eyes drift when you're searching for a memory. She sees the tension in a forced smile and the sorrow hidden behind a polite nod. It's in the subtle shift of your posture and the way you breathe when you think no one is looking. To most, these are just moments passing by. But to her, they are a language of their own. Every heartbeat, every shadow of a thought, every truth that remains buried under a mountain of small talk. Because in every glance, every long pause, and every heavy sigh, she notices what you don't say. In a world that never stops talking, we often forget the weight of what is left unsaid. True strength does not always announce itself with a roar. Sometimes it is the quietest force in the room. Silence is not the absence of thought, but the mastery of it. It is the steady anchor in a restless sea. When we stop speaking, we begin to truly listen. We hear the rhythm of the world and the truth within ourselves. Words can be used to hide, to distract, or to fill the void, but a steady presence needs no explanation. The most profound conversations often happen without a single syllable being uttered. It is in the stillness that we find our resilience. It is in the pause that we find our power, because silence can be louder than words.
Most people spend their lives chasing. They chase approval, they chase status, and they chase people who don't even see them. But true influence doesn't come from running after others. It comes from standing still in the center of your own power. It starts with the quiet decisions, choosing the gym over the snooze button, choosing the difficult book over the endless scroll. It is about respecting your own time, your own boundaries, and your own vision above the noise of the world. When you stop looking for permission, you start radiating purpose. People don't follow titles. They follow conviction. They follow those who know exactly where they are going. When you prioritize your own growth, you naturally become a magnet. You don't need to ask for a seat at the table when you are the one busy building the entire room. Stop begging for attention and start investing in your soul. Because when you choose yourself, others follow. Life often feels like a sequence of shadows, a long and winding corridor where the end is always just out of sight. We wait for a sign. We search through the words of others, hoping to find a fragment of ourselves hidden within the dusty pages of history and forgotten. Wisdom. The world moves in a frantic, blurred rush. Yet here we are, standing perfectly still, caught in the friction of our own internal struggle. It is the silence that weighs the most, the unanswered questions that keep us tethered to the ground, searching for a meaning that feels just out of reach. But within that weight, something begins to shift, a subtle vibration in the air. A whisper of a different path we hadn't noticed before. We are forced to look inward, to finally face the version of ourselves we have been running from for so long. The realization begins in the dark. A single spark is all it takes to illuminate the vastness of our potential, piercing through the fog of doubt that once defined our existence. Like water returning to its source, the fragmented pieces of our lives begin to flow together with a newfound and absolute sense of purpose. Every second, every struggle, and every grain of sand has led us to this specific intersection of time and destiny. The stillness is finally loud. The coldness of the past dissolves as the warmth of realization takes hold, painting the world in a vibrant light we are finally ready to see. Clarity is not a destination. It is the choice to see the world as it truly is, moving beyond the veil of everything we thought we knew. And that's when everything changes.
We spend so much of our lives fighting against the grain, wondering why the world seems to say no to our deepest desires. You look in the mirror and see only the setbacks. You see a series of failures where there should have been progress. We treat every closed door as a judgment on our worth. We let the weight of perceived rejection settle deep within our bones. But look closer. Beyond the frustration, there is a rhythm you've been ignoring. A truth that is waiting for you to listen. Sometimes the universe isn't blocking your path. It's simply showing you that this road was never meant for your feet. You were never rejected. You were just unaligned. And now you are finally finding your center. Embrace the silence. Accept the redirection. Everything is finally falling into place. Take a breath. You are exactly where you need to be.
The old story had to die. For far too long, I carried the heavy weight of voices that weren't mine, echoes of doubt that whispered in the dark. I spent years believing I wasn't enough, convinced that the walls I built around my heart were my only protection. But I eventually realized those very walls had become my prison. To finally breathe again, I had to find the courage to let go of the shadows. It's a quiet revolution, a deliberate choice made in the deep stillness of the night. Every limiting belief is nothing more than a ghost from a past that no longer exists. Now I stand at the threshold of a beautiful new chapter. I am unafraid of the unknown because the light I found within myself is stronger than any darkness I left behind. Your true evolution begins the very moment you decide that the old version of yourself is no longer invited into your future. Step forward with purpose. The horizon is waiting for you.
The world is loud, filled with the constant noise of expectations and the heavy pressure to belong. It's easy to get lost in the search for a nod of approval, a sign that you are enough. But true strength begins when you look inward. You stop chasing validation. As you walk away, the weight of 1,000 opinions begins to lift. The silence isn't empty, it's full of peace. You find that the only voice that truly matters is your own. Embrace the solitude, for it is where your inner light shines the brightest. Walk forward and don't look back.
In a world that constantly measures your worth by external scales, there comes a moment of profound stillness. A moment where the noise fades away. We often spend our early years trying to fit into frames built by others, chasing milestones that were never truly ours to begin with. But true maturity is not the act of reaching a finish line. It is the realization that the race itself was an illusion. You are the path. Redefining self-worth requires a quiet courage. It is about stripping away the excess until only your core remains, untethered and focused. When you stop looking for validation in the eyes of the crowd, your movements become more deliberate. Your stride finds its own internal rhythm. This journey isn't about arrogance. It's about a settled confidence that doesn't need to shout to be heard. It is the power of a quiet presence. Every step taken in alignment with your values is a brick in the foundation of your new identity. You are no longer following. You are leading yourself. Success is redefined. It is no longer a trophy on a shelf, but the peace in your heart at the end of the day lived on your own terms. As the sun sets on old expectations, a new clarity emerges. You realize that your value was never up for debate. It was always there, waiting for you to claim it. You no longer need to ask for permission to excel. You no longer need a mirror to tell you who you are. The transition is complete. The journey from seeking to being is the most important path you will ever walk. You become the standard.
True excellence is never the result of a chase. It is the natural consequence of a life built on self-mastery and internal discipline. While most people look outward for validation, the individual of high value looks inward, refining their mind and sharpening their focus. You begin to move with a different frequency. You are no longer reacting to the world. You are creating your own reality. This shift in energy is palpable. It is a silent magnetism that speaks louder than any words or grand gestures. When you stop seeking attention, you become the center of it. Your presence becomes a standard that others aspire to reach. The dynamic of your life changes. You are no longer the one reaching out. You are the destination, and now they come to you. Master yourself, and the world will follow your lead.
Not because you begged, but because you became.
This is the shift.
This is the truth.
Attraction is not given, it is created.
Become powerful or stay invisible. The choice was always yours.